Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization, and I'm here with a very important message. Cheat reps are stupid. No, seriously, they are. But don't worry, I'm not just going to say that. We'll be breaking it down. Now, I can think of at least 4 reasons for cheating that make some amount of sense. The good news is we have ways around almost all of them, or all of them almost all the way, that don't require cheating. So here we go. People will say, well, one of the reasons I use cheat reps is because I can use more weight. And that's a good point. And more tension sometimes is the answer. But what you can also do is just increase the load on the bar. You know, strange idea. That creates more tension. You continue to do strict reps for more sets, but you just use more load and thus do fewer reps per set. So if you're doing cheat curls for sets of 10, you can just do non-cheat curls for sets of 6 to 8, and the movement is now safer, probably more effective. And if it's not enough volume, then you just do more sets. Ta-da! Problem solved. At least philosophically, it's solved on the idea of, well, I need more tension and that's why I'm cheating. Right? We also know that anything sort of beyond your 5-rep max, anything heavier than that is probably so suboptimal stimulus to fatigue wise for bodybuilding and for hypertrophy training that if someone says, well, no, I need a lot more weight, it's nothing I can even lift once strict, that's probably BS. Probably BS. Second reason people say they cheat is they say, well, I can go beyond failure. So I do a certain number of strict reps, and then after I do some cheat reps to make sure that, I get close to failure, and then I stick around close to failure for a little while using cheat reps or even go sort of beyond technical failure and get some good stimulus there. A fine idea on some occasions. However, you can do 0 cheating at all and get the same effect with rest-pause reps. Myo reps being a good example. Do your set of 10, get 10 reps with your 10 RM or something like that, or your 11 RM, and then you rest a couple seconds, and then you do another 2 or 3 and rest a couple seconds, another 2 or 3. Same beyond failure or milking out the failure portion effect as with cheating, except with none of the downsides. And there are lots of downsides. We'll get to them in the next slide. So rest pause solves that problem. Another claim people say is that they feel the target muscle better. Like when I do cheat curls, my biceps, I can feel like I'm hitting my biceps better than if I do strict reps. So the first thing I'll say to that is, no, you probably don't. Okay, it's probably just not true. It's not true for you inside your own head. You're lying, and you're justifying cheating because cheating is, we all know, actually done for only one reason, and that's ego. You want to be able to be a person that lifts a certain amount of weight. You are not that person because your muscles are insufficiently large to do so, but you want to feel like that, so you do the equivalent of renting a Lamborghini and telling people you bought it. You're faking it, and cheating does that. Now, everyone's smart and jacked. They know you're bullshitting, but a lot of the gym doesn't, and so you can fool some people and probably yourself, which is the most important. So no, you probably don't feel the muscle better. Almost everyone who says this has such terrible technique. When you look at them train, you go, wow, that's probably impossible. If you give them a couple technique pointers if they're open-minded, all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, I can really feel that. And I go, check it out. You don't even have to cheat. Now, there is a tiny, tiny probability that you actually do get something out of cheating as far as feeling the muscle more. And what you should do is say, okay, that's the truth here, but maybe I can alter my exercise selection or my technique and get the same good feeling without having to cheat. So maybe if you curl with your hands on the bar like this, when you do cheat curls, you feel a bit more tension in the biceps. If maybe you come in and bring the curl sort of grip inside, all of a sudden you don't have to cheat and you feel the biceps more. So cheating is kind of like a very uncreative way to chase a higher potential stimulus to fatigue ratio or muscle feel. So I would say do that first, and that solves almost every problem. Now let's say that you do that, and cheating actually still works better for you as far as you feel the target muscle better. Well, if that's really still true, which it almost certainly isn't, but there is a chance that it is, and remember, when you comment in the comments later and say, well, cheating works better for me, maybe you're one of those people. Remember, you're probably not. A little body language is a whole lot better than a ton. So if cheating really feels better for you, cheat as little as possible, or at the very least do as many strict reps as you can, and then put in just a little bit of cheating, not this nonsense insane clown posse. Great band. Are they a band? They're a rap group, an urban group. Just do a little bit of cheating. When you do like what I would term like insane fuckery cheating, of just like trying your best to use every muscle in your body to successfully complete a lift from point A to point B, man, you're probably not feeling shit at that point, and it's tons of downsides, which we'll get to in just a sec. Last claim, which is pretty common, and I'm sure I missed a few claims here, so let me know in the comments if I missed any claim that how cheating works better. I'll potentially address it in another video. The last claim here is I get better results, at least in the stimulus proxies, when I do cheat reps. So maybe my pump is better, my burn is better, tension perception in the muscle is better, the perturbation is better. So like my muscles feel weaker afterwards and they tend to twitch weird, which means like something happened. And the disruption is higher. So maybe you get more sore after cheating. A lot of the time, and probably like 99%, better technique and exercise selection actually solves this problem altogether. And then strict reps really are going to rule the day. Now, if you've ruled out all these things, and you still feel that cheating hits these stimulus proxies better, then if you must cheat, again, do it as little as possible. Do it as little as possible, and you pay fewer of the downsides. Now, let's get to the downsides. What are the downsides of cheating? Because at this point, you could be saying quite rationally, well, you know, like, gee, is it like this like nerd bro thing? Like you have to be strict. Like it seems kind of arbitrary. Maybe there's a bit of like a cultural artifact there that we judge people for not going squatting low enough or being strict. And maybe like your muscles don't care, right? Maybe. But turns out that's not true. So cheating has at least 6 downsides I can think of relatively off the top of my head. First, extra systemic fatigue. Anytime you swing with a curl using tons of other muscles, and those muscles all generate fatigue of their own, and then your total systemic fatigue goes up. Also, you're using physically more weight and moving it through the same range of motion or a similar range of motion, which means your total work output is higher, and there's no way to do total work with a human body and not accumulate more fatigue. Remember, your target muscles probably not being stimulated more. Oftentimes, it's actually stimulated less. So extra systemic fatigue spills over into your other muscle groups, means you have to deload sooner, and all these other bad things. And systemic fatigue, by the way, at a very high level, actually prevents you from getting the most out of your training. So bad news. Next, there's a lot of local muscular fatigue, not of the target muscles. For example, let's say you have deadlifts on Wednesday, and on Tuesday, you're doing a workout where you're doing biceps. If you do a lot of swing curls and cheat curls, your lower back, your spinal erector complex, and your glutes will actually be somewhat fatigued, and it might knock a rep or two off of your deadlifts, precisely the rep or two that occurs just before failure, which is a very hypertrophic rep or two. So if you want to go fresh into deadlifts and grow the biggest back you can, you'd better leave your back the fuck alone when you're training biceps and just here's a crazy idea. Train your biceps instead of using your back to do a whole goddamn curl. So yeah, extra muscle fatigue for not the target muscle interferes with your program a bunch of different levels. And in the simplest way, just make sure that your muscles are less fresh when you actually want to train them, right? Another one, more long-term wear and tear. Because remember, you are stressing the joints to a higher degree. You're stressing the muscle to a higher degree because cheating on almost every case results in you lifting more weight, which remember, secretly, all secret between us, is fucking the only reason people actually cheat is because they want to use more weight and look more impressive to themselves often and to others. And you use more weight and you will pay for it, okay? A real interesting thing about especially bodybuilding training, hypertrophy training, and intelligent approaches to powerlifting, weightlifting is getting the most out of exercises using the least weight. Cheating is the fucking opposite of that. So I've done a critique of Doug Brignall's, Brig 20 method before, where I said, oh, maybe something, not enough raw stimulus magnitude, et cetera. Maybe some of the calculations are off. But I will say, one of the great things about that method is that he really does put a fine point on the idea that, like, look, why would you want more long-term wear and tear from using heavy weights if you can leverage your body in such a way that you can use smaller external loads? Valid as fuck. There's a great point. And that cheating is the opposite of that. Point number 4, you get a higher acute injury risk. Okay. Chris Bumstead and that other gentleman, good God, what's his name? Callum Von Moger, I believe. They did like a partner cheat curl. The entire thing upsets me with like 405 pounds or something. And I believe Callum tore his bicep for like the 5th time. I'm a big Callum Von Moger fan. I think he's great. I've seen a bunch of his like documentaries and stuff. He just seems like a really good person and a really, really open soul. And it's just sad to see him do dumb shit like that. Right? What is exactly the point of doing that thing other than YouTube views? Well, you can get YouTube views in a bunch of different ways, not getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully. Unless I'm really in a place I don't understand, I'm probably not going to get hurt. I'm getting plenty of YouTube views just talking to the camera. And it's okay. Training is dangerous, right? Don't make training any more dangerous than it has to be. And if you're using crazy loads with, a sort of wild flailing technique, you are more likely to get hurt. It's just a plain matter of fact. It's not a ton, but it's enough to ask the question of why am I doing this? What's the trade-off? And we saw on the earlier slide, the trade-off's probably negative. So really interesting, kind of the equivalent of investing your money by burning it in a trash can. Not a good idea. Point number 5, cheating makes things tough to track. So, for example, how do you assess progress? Okay, you're cheating on the bench by lifting your butt, your hips off of the bench and sort of fucking the bench into the air. I'm sure you guys have seen that at 15,000 commercial gyms all across the world. And sometimes you bring the bar all the way down. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you really cheat by pushing your hips through. And then, you benched, let's say 225 for sets of 5 or sets of 10 in 1 week. And the next week you bench 225 for sets of like 11 to 12. The question comes up, is that because your pecs and triceps and shoulders got stronger and potentially bigger? And is that a good thing? And are you doing well? Is your program working? Is the intervention working? Is the muscle expanding in size? Or is it that you cheated marginally more and that actually nothing has happened very good with your biceps with your chest, shoulders, and triceps. And fundamentally, your program is suffering from some kind of error. And actually, maybe the programming is fine, but your diet, your sleep, or your pharmaceutical protocol is just not aligned well to get results. But now you can't tell. Cheating, essentially, put another way, really, really, really shits on the signal to noise ratio in a really profound way. That's bad news. It's bad news. It's the opposite of what we want. And also, it becomes very difficult to plan increases in difficulty. Okay, today I benched 225 for sets of 10. Next week I'll do 230 for sets of 10. But if you cheated today to do 225 for sets of 10, what the fuck is the plan next time? 230 with as much cheating? Here's the question. How do you regulate cheating? Do you really know how much you're cheating? I kind of had sex with the air a little bit during the curl. Next time I'm going to be like fucking Peter North of bar curl air sex. Is that, am I too old? Scott, the video guy, is that too,
I don't know who that is.
You don't, you're not as involved in the adult film industry as myself. All right. So bad news, really tough to track, really tough to plan, really tough to know where you're at. Lot of noise, not as much signal. Cheating, here's the really messed up part. It's probably less stimulative, rep for rep, set for set. Why? Because it usually misses the highly loaded stretched position. Look, when guys cheat on the bench, they usually cut the range of motion, and they usually, as soon as the bar gets nice and low, they hip out of it to make sure that another muscle takes over. When you're at the bottom of a bench, you want your chest to take as much of the tension as possible, really expand. I very rarely have seen someone cheat and actually get to a full extended range of motion. People who cheat with pull-ups by doing the fuck your way up the pull-up thing, you guys know when you're like jumping through midair, they almost never go down all the way for a big stretch. So cheating doesn't, at least to me, is not very convincing that it's more stimulative. It could be less stimulative and more fatiguing. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. So can you do cheat reps? Yes. You may be in the wild minority of people for whom the stimulus to fatigue ratio or the raw stimulus magnitude of cheating is actually marginally superior with a limited amount of cheating in some exercises, and then you can do it, but you better have a damn good reason. And if you don't, the ghost of Dr. Mike will visit you in the gym. Ooh, spooky. We're actually recording this right around Halloween, so I feel kind of spooked out. I'm just going to shut the fuck up. You never want to talk about ghosts too much because you talk that shit, but then it gets late at night and then you're trying to fall asleep and you're like, I'm sorry, ghosts. I should have never said shit. I love all of you. Unless you don't want to be loved, and then I don't. See you next time.